Hi, it's Dina Churchill. I think I'm live here. It's been an eventful day so far. Today is Saturday, November 21st. Started with a nice sunrise and a meditation, and I'm glad I had that this morning. Then Anastasia, a friend, was going to the market, the organic market at the Forum, and really wanted, she was there last week and was denied service because she wasn't wearing a mask. So she was going back this week to deliver the laws that were passed by the National Council of Common Law Courts. And this law, September 8th, outlawed COVID measures, so masking, social distancing, and the lockdown. So what's common law? Common law goes above kind of our civil courts and into what's lawful, what's right, what's just. It was the common law courts that had Pope Benedict step down from his position in 2013 for his sex offending crimes. You see, under that legal system, it allowed for priests and for popes to be part of sex trafficking businesses, for example. So what is legal may not be lawful. And this is a distinction that we have right now with these COVID measures, because legally, they really, they think there's a law, a legal law, but no one has put a law in place to mandate this. And the governments have put the small businesses in charge of being the mask police. Why is that? Because they know it's not a lawful thing to do. You can't deprive someone of oxygen. So we're in a bit of a dilemma because these small businesses are afraid. They're afraid of getting shut down. They're afraid of having fines from the government that they've threatened. So the only way out of this paradigm that I can see is to educate the masses and to educate the small businesses that this is just the first step in their greater agenda, which is, again, to lock down, to take out the mom and pop businesses, to take out the middlemen. You know, the Walmarts and the Costco's and the Amazon aren't suffering through this pandemic. In fact, the billionaires like Bill Gates actually has made money on this pandemic because they bought something called pandemic bonds. So the longer the pandemic goes on, the more money they make, you see. It's there's a greater agenda. It's not about this COVID. COVID is a hoax. And the information we delivered this morning to the small businesses there at the Forum was highlighting that. You know, that Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, who's a medical specialist in virology and pathology and chairman of the COVID test producer. I posted this information further down the page, but this is what we handed out this morning. This is his quote, okay? This is Dr. Roger Hodgkinson's quote, who's again the chairman of the COVID test. There's utterly unfounded public hysteria driven by the media and politicians. It's the biggest hoax ever perpetrated on an unsuspecting public. There's absolutely nothing that can be done to contain a virus. Virus is just dead bits of genetic material, right? It's nothing more than just a bad flu season. And if you're here in Nova Scotia, you'll know. 64 deaths is not, you know, a pandemic, right? 58 of those being at the Northwood Long-Term Healthcare Facility. Likely all of them had the flu shot, which contains the corona sequence, contains viral material. And there's nothing in a shot, okay? There's nothing in a shot that's any good for your body. So I had this conversation with a lady there this morning, and she was all upset. You mean you didn't vaccinate your kids? No, I didn't. I researched it very well before I made that decision. And I start listing out the ingredients, the polysorbate 80, the glyphosate in vaccines, the mercury and the aluminum, and, you know, the retroviruses, and, you know, in this new COVID one, even the DARPA hydrogel. You know, there's nothing in it that's good for your body. It's a scam. It's been a scam from the beginning. So when you say that to people, they really do think you're delusional, right? So I'm having a moment where I'm trying to understand how to educate people and how to, instead of how to use their fear in a productive way, because you can't get rid of fear, right? You just have to educate it, have a conversation with it, and to try to shift people from their current brainwashed mindset that the media and politicians have put in place. So again, this Dr. Roger Hodgkins, who's again the chairman of the COVID test producer, says it's politics playing medicine, and that's a very dangerous game. So this is a conversation I had with the police officer there this morning, because they called the police, of course. I said, yes, please do call them, because I sent Inspector Nickel the information this morning, all this information that I was handing out. Actually, yesterday I sent that. You say, so the police explained it to me this way. This is their business, and their business, they can require you to wear a shirt, for example, or they can require you to wear shoes or whatever. They have the right to do that. And I said, well, that is not true, because wearing a mask is actually a medical device. They are not qualified, nor are you qualified with my health information. So you can't require me to do that. This is a medical device. And he said, well, you don't have a business. I said, I did have a business. I had a chiropractic business for 22 years, and I had to build my washroom. I had to make it bigger than what I normally would. It had to be a 5-meter radius to accommodate those in a wheelchair. Right? Because you, as a business owner, have the duty to maintain our human rights and accommodation. And if you understand the science that masks don't protect against the virus, they're actually harmful to your health. It would be like insisting somebody has to smoke in your facility. Right? So it's totally bizarre what's happening right now. And what we have to do is realize the difference. It's not a law. There's no law in place that says you have to wear a mask. And we have to educate our business owners into these facts. So again, this virologist, head of the COVID test producer, he says there's no action needed. Masks are utterly useless. Now, this is a highly credentialed man who's a specialist in virology and pathology. There's no evidence whatsoever that they're even effective. It's utterly ridiculous seeing these unfortunate, uneducated people walking around like lemmings. Can I have a mask break now? Can I have a mask? It's crazy. Social distancing is also useless, says this guy. Positive test results do not indicate clinical infection, right? If you don't have, you know when you're sick. And what we've done traditionally for thousands of years, if you're sick, you kind of stay home and rest so your body and your immune system can get back to a healthy place, right? This makes sense. Masking up a whole population because of this crazy little virus is, again, ridiculous. And the viral material in our environment actually supports our immune system. It challenges it and makes it stronger. That's their whole philosophy behind the flu shot, right? They're giving you some of the virus in hopes that they're stimulating your immune system by adding heavy metals and chemicals. But now they're putting a mask on to prevent the virus. So you see, there's a double standard that makes no logical sense if you can look at that. So positive test results do not indicate clinical infection. It's simply driving public hysteria. All the testing should stop immediately. This is from the chairman of the COVID-19 test producer. Using the province's own statistics, this guy was in Alberta, the risk of death under 65 is 1 in every 300,000. So you've probably got a greater chance of getting hit by lightning than you do from dying of this coronavirus. But the media, the politicians, everybody's playing it up. Why? Because there's a higher agenda. It's a pharmaceutical agenda to sell you the vaccine. You say, wow, that can't be happening on a global level, really? Bill Gates is the largest contributor to the World Health Organization. Bill Gates' vaccine. So not only can he concoct, and patent the virus, which he did, he was on the patent as well as the Queen, but then he can sell you the antivirus. That's what a computer guy does, right? That's how he makes $200 billion on a pandemic. He creates a virus, a hysteria, and then he sells you the antivirus. So this is the scam. The scale of response is utterly ridiculous. All kinds of business closures, suicides, lockdowns. You're being led down the garden path. And if you're too afraid to stand up for yourself, you'll be buried by this. Because what's going to happen, now we're into a season where there's low light, right? The light's disappearing here in Nova Scotia. We have shorter days. The temperature goes down. The particulate matter in the air goes up. So we, and our immune systems are more challenged. So there's more viral detox at this time of year. It's natural, right? The trees lose their leaves. We challenge our immune system, and we all have this viral detox around this time of year. So what they're going to try to peer it to, they're going to try to say, oh, we've had a new corona outbreak. Mask up, lockdown. I don't know. My mother said last night that the COVID restrictions here in Nova Scotia just got cut again. I don't know, when she said that, I was kind of imagining a magician, you know, having somebody in a box and cutting them in half. Crazy things that I go through in my mind to try to entertain myself with this ludicrousy that's happened right now. So you're being led down the garden path. So our message really to small business owners, because we're boycotting Costco, right? Because Costco, Bill Gates is on the board of directors of Costco. So I will be canceling my Costco membership, and I'm looking for a creative way that I can do that. I'm thinking of flash mob in the parking lot. So if you're interested, you know, connect with me on that. I have an idea, but you have to be willing to wear a mask for a short period of time if you're going to do that. So connect with me. But we're being led down the garden path, and our duty is to educate. The PCR tests are not accurate. So the PCR test takes and measures, takes a little bit of information from your body and then magnifies it. So if you have viral material in your body, it doesn't mean you're contagious or you're sick. It may mean just that you're being exposed to different things in the environment and your immune system's stronger. You haven't got a cold or a flu. So the whole test is fraudulent. So imagine this now. If 58 of the 64 deaths were at Northwood and they've labeled it as on COVID-19, what I suggested to our MPs in Nova Scotia and our MLAs is it's an unlawful death at Northwood. Because if they're labeling it as COVID and the test can't really test for that, then it's false. It's a whole scam. It's a sham. So the tests aren't accurate. Wealthy businessmen like Bill Gates made billions of dollars on this crisis, right, by buying pandemic bonds. And also, they have their businesses set up now that they can accommodate. They're shutting down the little mom and pop businesses, the hairdressers and the, you know, massage therapists, and, you know, they've threatened the people that are selling organic food at the market. But still, you can go to Walmart, you can buy online, right? The big businesses haven't suffered. They're actually making money as the smaller businesses are being taken out. And our smaller businesses, our restaurants, they can't afford another lockdown. They're already stressed. But what do we need to do to change this? Education. We have to educate them, because only in that information, only when they can see that it's a scam and that Dr. Robert Strang is lying to you, can they stand up for themselves. Otherwise, they're fearful. If you go look at the video we did, they didn't even want to see the information. They didn't want to see the information that I had there. So it's, we can't get through if we're approaching that resistance. We have to figure out a creative way to share information with these business owners, or else they win. Big business, big pharma. So again, Bill Gates, largest financial contributor to the World Health Organization, the UN, you know, a lot of these global companies that are dictating this pandemic, and you can research this, Event 201. You can see they had it all planned out, how it was going to roll out, what the media stories were going to be. Our governments, our Canadian governments and most other governments had the COVID test kits bought a year before the pandemic even arrived. 2019. They start changing our quarantine legislation here in Nova Scotia, June 2019, June 4th, to include quarantine, being able to kidnap your kids without your consent. So if you send your kids to school, they got their mask, they have a fever, the government can come in now under these legislative, you know, measures, because we're in still a state of emergency because of 64 deaths. But the government can come in and take your child. Then they can vaccinate them without your consent too. So under the legal system, okay, this is the difference. So the reason why 28 of friends and myself started this common law, Atlantic Common Law Assembly, was to have something different, a different program. We want something that's lawful. We don't want that legal system. So now I'm a citizen of Canada, which is a whole different nation. So I'm not under the authority of our current corrupt Canadian government no longer. And our laws that we've put in place removes us from that. So you can rise above it too. You don't have to stay in that corruption. When you see something that's wrong, you have to speak up for it, or you'll be buried by it. So the reason why we're doing this is for you. The reason why we're out on the streets giving out information is for you too. It's for you that don't even understand yet. It's for you that still believe that there's a virus and you're still running around in a mask or too afraid to take it off. You know, Gandhi says, when the law becomes corrupt, when the state becomes corrupt, we have no choice but to resist. It's our sacred duty. So Rosa Parks, she refused to sit at the back of the bus. You know why there's still scalping laws? 10 Guinness for an Aboriginal scalp, still on the laws, still on the books here in Nova Scotia. Do you know why? Because there were no protests against it. There was nobody stood up and said, this is not right. So what they're doing to us now, they've done to the Indigenous population since 1874. They removed kids from their homes. They put them in residential schools. They were raped. Some were murdered. They were vaccinated on. They were under medical experiments. This is what our Canadian government has done for 100 years. It's not new. So if you don't know that history, I think you should go back and review it, because then you can see right now this COVID restriction and the lockdown in a different light. So our sacred duty is to resist, right? We know what's lawful. We know what's right. And if you don't stand up, if you don't create a disturbance, nothing will change. Those who scream the loudest get heard. So by consenting, by keeping your mask on and remaining silent, you're actually a part of the problem. And you can whine and cry about a mandatory vaccine, but I'm sorry, if you're still going to work in your mask and you're still shopping in your mask, then you're part of the problem, not the solution. You have to, so the recommendation, it's not a law. So don't let anyone tell you. I had this conversation with a police officer today. I said, it's not a law. If it's a law, I need to see the law, because I'm under, and I showed him, I said, I'm under jurisdiction. Hold on. I'm now a member of Canada, so I have this Canada card that allows me to not be under the Canadian government regulation. This is my citizenship card. And he said, where did you get that? I was going to say the dollar store, but he didn't look like he's in too good a mood. I said, no, from our republic, from the Canada Republic. It was started in 2015 by 251 delegates, and now we have over 50 assemblies all across Canada, and we're starting a new nation. We have a new nation that's not going to be under the corrupt laws of the government. And he said, do you have a website? I said, yes. I handed him the information, a card that I have, and our website information, Atlantic Common Law. And I said, you can check with the inspector. I already had a talk with her this morning. So you see, by standing in your own power, outside of the corruption, you become sovereign. You can use your own mind. You can direct your actions and your speech, not in a malicious way. Just choose not to. So, for those who are so ingrained, like the lady this morning, right? And some of the people there, I knew. Some of the people, those farmers are my friends. But I'm sorry, you have to stand up for yourself. If not, you're going to get stepped upon. So I get lots of people sending me videos and posting and Facebook stuff, but what are you doing right now with those videos? Besides Facebook, because it's censored, what are you doing out in your environment? Have you emailed your MLAs? Have you challenged your media that's sending you lies? Have you connected with your chief medical officer and threatened personal liability if there's damages or if the vaccine comes in? If you haven't, then you're not doing your job, right? You have to pick up and do what you need to do too, for all of our humanity, but for your kids, for your family. So what else was on this information that I sent them? Masks reduce oxygen. They kill brain cells, they cause disease in the skin and in the lungs, and they don't protect against the virus. That's the facts. Masks are useless. Even the chemicals in the masks, the formaldehyde and the chlorine and some of the other chemicals, oxides, actually have been shown to cause lung cancers. So the lady at the forum, she said, you're not wearing a mask. I said, you don't have yours on either. She said, I'm going for a cigarette. And I said, you know what? Your cigarette's probably healthier right now than wearing that mask for 8 hours a day. So if you haven't seen the video that I did, YouTube video, I put a pulse oximeter on my finger and I measured my saturated oxygen. So when I was in practice, we used that saturated oxygen measure to assess health. So if somebody had low oxygen saturation, they were at risk for a cardiovascular incident. Somebody probably wouldn't do a rotary adjustment, a neck adjustment on, because they're just like a heart attack or a stroke waiting to happen if your saturated oxygen's low. So by putting this on my finger, putting the mask, after 10 minutes, my oxygen dropped 4 points. You can go back and look at it. It was a little experiment that I did. So in fact, I did wear a mask for 10 minutes to do that experiment. And so it reduces your oxygen. Because, you know, some of my family will say, well, what's the harm? Put it on, just go in. I know. You know, not only does it reduce your oxygen, you are submitting to their agenda. You're making other people believe that this is a real thing, that there's a real scam, there's a reason to be fearful. So walking my dog through the park this morning after that beautiful sunrise, and the guy says, look out, my friend that I always see, look out, there's 400 runners coming your way, and none of them are wearing masks. So I look at him and I said, so are you afraid of the coronavirus? And he says, well, and he's a big guy, right? I said, well, he says, well, yeah, I guess, yeah. And I said, well, do you know there's only 64 people that have died of this virus? And 58 of those were at Northwood, you know, comorbidities on their deathbed, having the flu shot. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. This whole thing is a scam. And he says, what? But he's here. If the vaccine comes out for the coronavirus, I'm going to get it. And I said, really? Oh my gosh, I wouldn't get that. I said, you know, the flu shot contains the coronavirus. He said, I know. I got sick with the flu shot. And I said, well, this corona vaccine, it's twice as bad. It has something called DARPA hydrogel. It changes your DNA. It has fetal cells. It has cells from where they grow the culture. So some of the vaccines have like monkey, mouse, hamster, pig, chicken cells that they put in the vaccine. Right? Now, they're not putting it in on purpose, I don't think, maybe, but they grow the culture on these animals. So you're getting animal DNA when you get the vaccine. And again, like I said, the heavy metals, the polysorbate 80, like antifreeze, right? The glyphosate, which is it was originally patented as an antibiotic, so it kills off all your natural bacteria in your gut. This is what they're spraying on our foods too, right? The whole idea of organic food is kind of weird, right? Our food was always organic until they start like genetically modifying it and pouring poison on it. They have to genetically modify the food so it withstands this glyphosate poisoning. Because if they didn't genetically modify it, a normal plant would die if they put that spray on it. So this is what they're eating. So you see, big business. I posted an article and I had a shot of the produce department back in April, I guess, at Costco. And it says New World Farms. Snow peas, carrots, New World Farms. Not organic, right? Got it? So they're putting the chemicals. Not only are you're ingesting it, you're injecting it into you too. And again, you see, right? Bill Gates, Costco director, Poison Foods, Bill Gates, vaccine company. I mean, who believes like a computer guy about your health, like Dominic Carty, education minister, has no science degree at all, is going to believe like all your kids need to be injected in order to go to school and be healthy? Like, come on, people, please, like, use your brain just for a moment, okay? Don't take advice from computer operators and, you know, political scientists for your health. You have to research it for yourself. And then you can kind of come up with the research and you can know it. If you want to know the research, I've been studying this personally for 20 years, right? My doctor didn't even want to look at the research that I had presented to her. I wanted her to challenge me, like I did with the police officer this morning. Said, I'm going to call the police. I said, yes, please do. I really want to speak to the police on this subject. So when the police came, I'm educating them. Because when you're standing in truth, and love and justice, you will call in everything you know and everything available in the environment to help your path, including police officers. Now, if you're being an asshole, if you're challenging them, if you're causing a disturbance, but if you're there sharing your heart and information and you're sharing truth, nobody's going to stop you. Nobody's going to stop you. But you have to do something. Right, so maybe your gig is, I mean, I don't really like having to create a fuss, you know, contrary to popular belief, but you know, someone's got to do it, as Dylan said to me last night. You know, someone's got to do it. And if it's not you, then who? Who's going to protect your kids? If you don't stand up for your kids now, take the muzzle off and refuse that vaccine, who's going to do that for you? So here's some things. Are you medically qualified? These are some common law things that you can ask. It's really just common sense, common law. Are you medically qualified to give me that shot? or suggested? Are you medically qualified to take my temperature? Because you see, I've been running around all day. I'm sitting in a warm car. If you took my temperature now, it would be high. That's not indicating of disease. In fact, an elevated temperature means your immune system's working and it's a sign of health. So are you qualified to have me use that mask? Are you qualified, medically qualified to take my temperature? Can I hold you personally liable for injuries that mask, that shot, that temperature check, when it hits your pineal gland with the radiation? Can I hold you personally accountable for damages? These are questions that you have to ask. If I go into your store and I drop dead because I've had a heart attack, are you liable because you've put me in that mask? So these are questions you have to ask about their liability, about their education, about the side effects. What is the contraindications to wearing a mask? Are there people that can't wear a mask? Are there contraindications to the vaccine? What side effects might I see? Could I please have the batch number? This is what I asked Randy Dolores, our health minister, and also Chief Medical Officer Robert Strang, and our Premier, Stephen McNeil. I said, can you tell me if all those 58 people that died at our Northwood facility all had the same flu shot? And can you give me the batch number of that? These are questions that you have to ask to challenge it back. You can't sit back and be fearful. Oh, poor me, they got my kids in a mask. My kids' brain cells are dying because they're making me wear a mask. No one's making you do anything. You are consenting to the agenda. So July 31st, it became recommended to wear a mask in Nova Scotia. I haven't worn a mask since. I go into all my places. I got 500 exemption cards printed out. I gave away 500, and then I sold about another 200 just for my costs. But masks, maskexemption.ca or Hugs Over Masks are great websites where you can get this. That just says, you can't ask me to wear a mask, right? It's a medical device. They can't do it. And if you're a medical doctor, okay, so I have had 3 emails now from my medical doctor. Come get your flu shot. Come get your, flu vaccine and your pneumonia vaccine. You know why? I've never got that before. Why is it this year? Because they've ordered 500,000 shots here for Nova Scotia. So, it's marketing. It's a pharmaceutical marketing scam. Pharmaceutical marketing scam. So the masks whole thing. So Hugs Over Mask too is another, they've put out these things, mask decreases your oxygen intake, increases inhaled toxins from the chemicals in the mask, not to mention that it creates, impetigo and infections of the skin, infections of the lungs, because you're breathing in your own exhaled products. So you're asphyxiating yourself, basically. You're smothering yourself. And again, creating condensation that can create problems, also lung issues. So you're inhaling more toxins with the mask on, and you're not allowing, your body to cleanse normally. So, okay, look at this. A gyprock guy, a carpenter who wears one of those masks at the end of the day after he's putting up gyprock, right? You see the pictures, right? He takes off the mask and he has powder all the way around. So this is it. The viral particles are nanometers. And there's all sorts of little holes. The person this morning I was with had a scarf around her face. Just to kind of, consent to the agenda. And the building that I looked at, she said, I think you have to wear a mask. I said, well, I won't be looking at it. I'll be missing that apartment because I don't wear a mask. I haven't worn a mask since the day it started, only to do that experiment, and I won't. And again, by standing under common law, separate from this legal system that's actually illegal right now, is a smart thing to do for yourself. So if you want to be a part of our Atlantic Common Law Assembly, you can connect with me. Having a cell, having a group of people, and to start, thinking about how you can have a sovereign mind is the first step. Then if you want to be a part of a larger group, the Assembly, if you want to be a part of our nation, Canada, and be connected to different assemblies across Canada and create a new system of governance, then Republic of Canada is the website you should visit. So COVID. You know what COVID means? Thanks, Corey, for this. It means certification of vaccine identification. The whole purpose of the vaccine is to be able to control you. So they're putting nanotechnology and chips inside, not chips, but nanotechnology, that they'll be able to kind of like tattoo you and know your whole vaccine history, to know who's okay and who's not. They're going to create going to be branded like sheep, right? We'll be having to go certain places unless you stand up. Unless you stand up. Unless you create some sort of civil disobedience is required, as Gandhi says, when our government becomes lawless or corrupt. So we're consenting to it if we do nothing. So I guess the purpose of this video is to challenge you to think about how you, in your own situation, in your own environment, in your own life, how can you challenge this narrative? For me, it's not wearing a mask. It's writing to my MLAs and MPs. It's showing up at our market without a mask and handing our laws, our common law laws, to Zach Churchill, who's our education minister, to Randy Dolores, who's our health minister, sending information and about holding Dr. Robert Strang personally liable. I mean, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing? What are you doing? Can someone tell me? We've got a few people watching here. If you're doing something in your own community, please put it in, because I find that inspiring. We're a team, and we all have to pick up now, and we have to move forward. Or else we have to be buried by the agenda, because it's just starting, right? They're going to have more, they'll say more coronaviruses, you know, you have to wear your mask more, there won't be the mask exemptions like at Costco now, right? They used to have, I'm shocked at Costco, say, no, I can't wear a mask. Now what? They have to like put your veil on, right? Your visor, like Star Wars. Why? It's bullshit. The whole virus is bullshit. So why would you consent to bullshit is what I don't understand. But anyway, so the purpose, again, in this video is to educate yourself. Then ask yourself the question, how can I communicate with those who are fearful? So I have an idea of speaking, and instead of going inside, maybe creating an event outside, and maybe having some people at the event wearing masks so they look like they're a part of the mask group. Because, you know, there was a little girl that chased us, and it wasn't just Anastasia, there was Sammy and, not Carolyn, her name will come to me in a second, but Anastasia, Sammy, myself, and another lady was there, and there was a little girl chasing us out. Don't come back here anymore! Don't come back not wearing a mask! I mean, the poor kids are afraid. The parents have convinced the kids that our environment is to be fearful. This is a crime. These are crimes against our humanity. And are you going to allow that? Fear. So there's two perspectives. You can see the world as a loving place. And when you see the world as a loving place, you're loving. You're loving towards it. You're loving outwards. If you see the world as a fearful place of having viruses and bacteria that you need to protect, and if you're fearful, you're creating stress in your immune system, for one thing. So you're at a lower level of health, but you're at a lower level of vibration. You're down, further down that scale into fear and ignorance, where you can be controlled only by power and force and fear, but you control others using power and force and fear. So even dealing with the police today, or dealing with the thing, you have to hold a loving vibration. You have to get your own mindset and your own heart set. Because when you can hold that loving vibration in the face of all the name calling and fear and animosity, you change the system. You know, those that vibrate the highest set the stage. They set the standard. So you can't be tempted to fall back into name calling, or to, you know, calling them idiots for wearing a mask. You know, you have to kind of understand that their anxiety and it's coming from fear of losing their job, fear of death for some. Some actually believe that this is a real pandemic and that it's a threat, you know, and they think you without a mask is somehow like endangering their lives. So they can look at you as kind of a murderer when you don't have a mask. So the email that I sent out, I did get one reply back from one of our local officials in Halifax, and he said, I'm going to put your emails right to my junk pile. You're a known anti-vaxxer, anti-masker, you know, in the city. And I said, absolutely. There's nothing in a vaccine that supports your immune system. Masks reduce oxygen and don't protect against the virus. This is the science. Anything else is pharmaceutical propaganda. So if I end up in the junk box, at least I've said my say, right? So anyway, thank you for watching. I'd ask you to go out and make a change. Be the change you want to see. So if you don't want to see masks, don't wear one. If you don't want to see everybody be vaccinated, start talking about it. Educate people about it. the officer said this morning, is this, when he took my license, is this your address? I said, well, that name actually is the corporate name under, corporate Canada, and I'm no longer going by that identity, but here's my Canada citizenship card, so you can just call me Dina, and that's the name that I go by now, so I'm no longer under your authority and control. But he said, is this your address? I said, no, I sold my house. I had to sell my house because I said, I started to see vaccine injuries in my practice. Just a second. Where I'd see a healthy baby come in for a wellness check, and we check their primitive reflexes, and we check their eye tracking, muscle strength, their walking, talking, have a series of vaccine injury, and boom, they can't walk anymore. Neurological things. And as a chiropractor, you're looking at developmental milestones, right? You're looking how they can move their head, how they can walk and talk. So I started to see injuries. When I started asking questions about this, the health department shut me down through my own chiropractic association. So that was when I seen, if you can't tell the truth about an injury you're seeing because of a medical process, there's a problem. So I said to the officer, this is what happened. I had to, surrender my license. They fined me for telling the truth about vaccines and sell my house. So right now I'm in transit looking for a place. So I don't have really a fixed address. But he says, well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know that I agree with all the things in play. I said, you know what? I know you're just doing your job, but your job is not to please me. I'm not in your system anymore. So thanks. And here's my card, and here's all the information. Here's my email address. Here's how to connect with me. So you'll probably see me around again. So may I have your card? We'll exchange cards, and have a great day. So this is how you have to stand in your power when you know you're speaking for truth and justice and from a loving place in your heart. So I think that's a good place to finish off, unless anyone has any questions. Again, thank you for watching. And Facebook and YouTube has shut down some of my videos, so if you go to my YouTube channel, actually I should try to figure out how to, if my email address is my BitChute channel. Those are all the really good videos, the ones that Facebook have taken down. So that's under my email address, dr.dina, denagc@gmail.com. So dr.denagc@gmail.com, and that's the BitChute channel. So you can see the YouTube, but keep in mind that one's censored. So when I do a video, for example, like this one or somewhere else where I'm talking about corruption in Canada, it doesn't stay up for too long. So the BitChute channel is a good one to check into. And any day, I'm thankful that Facebook has allowed me to kind of communicate this way, and I hope that stays. But you have my email address. My blog is healthtruth.blog. The YouTube channel, those are ways to connect with me. If you send me a message on Facebook, I may not get it. There's a lot of messages in my inbox, and I have to I'm focusing myself right now. Same thing with my cell phone. People have my text number. I have this off most of the time unless I'm doing a video because of the radiation that comes from the cell phone. Very dangerous. In fact, a lot of what they call COVID symptoms with the blood coagulation and the inability for your lungs to couple the oxygen with the hemoglobin is probably from this radiation, the 4 and 5G radiation that they should have rolled out by the end of the year. So try to get away from your technology. I posted a post about 5G radiation and had some great comments from friends on that. So thank you. So again, you could tag me in anything that you have, any information, send me information. I love that. We're a team, we're all working together, but if I don't get back to you right away, no, it's not that I don't appreciate you, it's just I'm trying to make most efficient my time and trying to reach the people, because right now I'm probably preaching to the people that already understand this. You're probably not wearing a mask. Anyone that's on here wearing a mask, say I'm wearing a mask if you are. I mean, most of these people, you're not wearing a mask, you're doing something. So today's outreach was trying to reach people that may not hear this message. And that's what I'd encourage you to do too. How can you reach the masses with a loving message that's going to help them turn their fear into purposeful action? Instead of being paralyzed by it and feeling interrogated and suppressed, we have to turn it around. And it only takes 1 or 2 people, right? Rosa Parks, it just took one person. Gandhi, it just takes one person. to stand up and to say, this is not lawful. This is not just. This is not what God meant for us. God meant for us to have air. God meant for us to have food. It's not organic food, it's food. The rest of it should be called poisonous food, right? We have fresh water. We shouldn't have chlorine and fluoride. Why do they have those chemicals in the water? Because they're trying to dumb us down. Why are they putting chemicals in our kids? Because they're trying to control us and they're trying to increase their pharmaceutical profits. So expand your vision. Hold the loving space in your heart. Be the change. Inspire others. Make a difference. And keep envisioning what you love, right? Envision. So Randy Hillier, thank you, Randy Hillier, MPP in Ontario, Canada, who challenged in the legislature the whole idea of quarantine centers, right? He couldn't get a straight answer. So my question to the MPs and the MLAs here in Nova Scotia was, is Randy Hillier the only one who knows about these quarantine centers? Or is everybody else just keeping quiet about it? So we have to ask the question and then, like I said, stand for what's true and just and healthy. So again, thank you all for being here. I'd invite you to reach for the stars, envision and achieve your personal best, and most of all, try to enjoy this journey in crafting kind of our way forward. Have a great day.